Attention passionate Washington Commanders fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Washington Commanders' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Washington Commanders fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with YOUR, FRINDS and Washington Commanders FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. As we approach the final stretch of the preseason, there's a buzz in the air around the Washington Commanders. They've already gone through 2 of their 3 preseason games, and honestly, it's been a mixture of evaluation, development, and a little bit of uncertainty. After a tough loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, the team is now gearing up for their last preseason fight, which will be against the Baltimore Ravens. And like most NFL teams do at this stage, it's expected that most of the starters and key reserves will get a day off, giving the coaching staff a chance to evaluate those fighting for a spot on the final roster. Looking back at the opener against the New England Patriots, the dynamic was pretty clear. Team leaned heavily on those players who are fighting tooth and nail just to make it onto the roster. That means a lot of opportunities for young, unproven players, and this upcoming game against Baltimore will be no different. It's a crucial moment for many guys trying to impress the coaching staff, to show their worth, and to stand out from a very competitive pool of talent. And as always, the stakes are high. Because right now, nothing is guaranteed. The roster cuts are looming, and every snap counts. Now, I want to pause here for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Washington Commanders news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now, let's continue with the big reveal. One of the most interesting storylines heading into this final preseason game revolves around the running back room. Since Brian Robinson Jr. was traded, the landscape has completely shifted. That's right, folks. The departure of Robinson has opened up a lot of questions about who will carry the load for Washington. And surprisingly, a 7th-round rookie, Jacare Krosky-Merritt, has emerged as a fan favorite. That's right, a rookie, undrafted no less, who's been turning heads in training camp and preseason. Fans are already calling him the future lead back, and honestly, he's making a strong case for himself. Now, everyone's watching to see if he can maintain that momentum against Baltimore because, in this game, opportunities will be limited, and the coaches will be looking for players who can step up when it matters most. And what about Austin Ekeler? Well, even though he's primarily known for his pass catching out of the backfield, there's talk that he might see some starting reps early in the season. That's a big deal because Ekeler's versatility is a huge asset for the Commanders' offense, and if he can get some reps early on, it could give the team a real edge. The battle behind them is also heating up. Chris Rodriguez Jr. had an impressive showing against Cincinnati, and that could be enough to secure a roster spot. But don't forget Jeremy McNichols, he's still in the mix, fighting to stay relevant. The team could decide to keep both, but Rodriguez's performance might tip the scales in his favor. This running back competition is just one of many key battles happening across the roster. And speaking of surprises, the rookie receiver Jacare Brooks has been making waves this offseason. Washington has a solid core of top-tier receivers like Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel SR, Noah Brown, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. They seem pretty set with those guys, but the question is, will there be room for 1 or 2 more? The team brought in veteran pass catchers this offseason, including Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, and Chris Moore, trying to add depth and experience. But none of them have truly stood out so far, which could give rookies like Brooks and others a better shot. Brooks has been impressive during training camp and in the preseason games, showing that he has the talent and determination to compete. Still, it's not a guarantee he'll make the final roster. The veteran's presence makes it a tough road for rookies, but it's those final moments in the preseason that can make all the difference. Will Brooks be able to shine one last time against Baltimore? If he does, it could be the moment he secures his spot. Now, let's talk about the defense for a moment, because that's where things get really interesting. The Commanders invested heavily this offseason in their defensive line, bringing in veterans like Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Wise Jr., Eddie Goldman, and Jacob Martin. They also added hybrid linebacker Von Miller to beef up that front. This group was supposed to be a game changer, and it's clear the team wants to improve their pass rush and run defense. But with so many new faces, it's understandable that some of the holdovers are fighting for their spots. One player who's been trying to make his mark is Javonte Jean-Baptiste. As a rookie, he's shown flashes of potential, but injuries have kept him sidelined during the preseason, which is never a good sign when trying to secure a roster spot. His talent is unquestionable, but the team needs consistency and availability. The preseason can be a make-or-break time for him, and a strong showing in the final game could be his chance to prove he belongs. On the other hand, players like Chris Paul, who's also fighting for a backup spot on the offensive line, haven't had the worst preseason, even if they haven't exactly dazzled either. The offensive line remains a concern, especially with injuries to Sam Cosmi and Brandon Coleman, and the unexpected retirement of Nate Herbig. That has opened up opportunities for depth players, and it's all about who steps up in these last few moments of preseason. Now, shifting gears to the defensive line, the Commanders made some big investments this offseason, trying to bolster their pass rush and overall front seven strength. Javon Kinlaw and Dietrich Wise Jr. are expected to be key contributors, along with Eddie Goldman and Jacob Martin. The addition of Von Miller was a smart move, bringing veteran leadership and pass-rushing prowess. But with all these new faces, some of the original members are now fighting to hold onto their roster spots. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, as I mentioned earlier, is a prime example. His talent is clear, but injuries and lack of preseason action have made his path to a roster spot more complicated. Still, Washington might not be ready to give up on him just yet. They see the potential, and if he can have an impressive final preseason game, that could be enough for him to stick around. Meanwhile, the linebacker core is similarly competitive. The team's hybrid linebacker Von Miller has been a key addition, and he's expected to bring a lot of veteran leadership to that unit. The defensive front, with all these veteran names, aims to create consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks and improve the run defense, which has been a concern in recent seasons. The battle for depth and rotational players is fierce, and every snap counts as players try to impress the coaching staff. Back to the offensive side, Washington's offensive line remains a bit of a question mark, especially with injuries in the picture. The team lost Nate Herbig to retirement, and Sam Cosmi and Brandon Coleman have been dealing with injuries, which has opened the door for some less experienced players to step up. Chris Paul, a former 7th-round pick, might not be a household name, but he's been making some noise in camp and preseason. Even if he's not the starter, showing that he can hold his own when called upon could be enough for him to earn a roster spot. The coaching staff will be watching closely in this final preseason game, especially to see if these depth pieces can provide reliable protection for the quarterbacks once the regular season begins. And speaking of the trenches, the defensive line's biggest challenge will be to maintain the pressure and disrupt opposing offenses. The veterans brought in this offseason were meant to elevate the pass rush, but the rookies and less experienced players also need to step up. Javonte Jean-Baptiste, despite his struggles, still has the talent and potential to turn things around if he gets a chance to shine in Baltimore. The coaching staff will be looking for those flashes of brilliance that can help him make the final roster. So, folks, as we get closer to the start of the regular season, every game, every snap, and every play in these preseason finales become even more critical. The roster battles are fierce, and the players know that their careers could hang in the balance based on their performance this week. The Commanders have built a roster with a mix of seasoned veterans and promising young talent, all eager to prove they belong in the NFL. The coaching staff has a tough task ahead, trying to balance experience with youth and making those final tough decisions. But what's clear is that the passion and determination are at an all-time high, and these players are leaving everything on the field to secure their spot and help push the Commanders toward another playoff run. Now, Washington fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all these roster battles? Who do you think will make the final cut? Are you excited about the potential of rookies like Jackery Krosky-Merritt and Jackery Brooks? Or do you think the veterans will hold strong? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion really matters to us and to the future of this team. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Washington Commanders news. We're in this together, and the best is yet to come.